Each week, nearly a dozen movies are released theatrically. 40 films a month, more than 400 a year. That's a plethora of cinema. Too much cinema. You'd have to be an addict to see all that, but don't fret. We've got you covered. This is CinemAddicts.
Hey everyone, we're back for another week of CinemAddicts. This is CinemAddicts episode 194. I think all three of us are pretty much on a really high note because we got to interview a director that I love, Bruce Purkey. Why don't you tell our listeners what we just came back from?
We just had an interview with director Mark Pellington. Probably you'll know him best for Arlington Road and maybe the Mothman Prophecies, but he's also, he's done a ton of stuff, including, you'll hear when in the interview, he'll talk about some things and you'll be like, oh, he did that? Oh, he did that. Interesting. We just had a great conversation with him about his new movie coming out next week, which we'll be discussing, Survive.
Survive, which stars Corey Hawkins and Sophie, what's her last name? Sophie something. I was going to say Sophie B. Hawkins, Sophie Tucker, Sophie something. She's Sophie from Game of Thrones. Sophie,
put me on the spot.
Yeah.
I don't think it's Sophie Tucker.
You think I think it's Sophie Tucker too.
Is it Sophie Tucker?
I apologize. I wasn't so because you know why? I pretty much know it's Sophie Tucker because whenever I would say Sophie, it would remind me of Tanya Tucker. I believe it's Sophie Tucker. Let's just go with Sophie Tucker.
Turner.
You know what? It's Sophie Turner. It is Sophie Turner. We apologize to Mark Pellington.
Yeah, Sophie Turner.
Thank you, Eric Holmes. We apologize to all the Sophies out there.
We got old man brains. It happens.
By the way, yes, I will say this though. With all that, my fault. It's not Bruce's fault. My fault that doing this whole thing with the Sophie Turner and Corey Hawkins. They're very, very good. Next week on Survive, we're going to do a little mini review of it, all three of us. But most importantly, we will have a 45-minute interview, close to 45-minute interview with filmmaker Mark Pellington. Very, very good. How do you think it went, Eric Holmes? And should I have asked a lot less questions and more questions should come from Bruce? Should I shut up next time when we do the interview?
He said he was down to go until 8:00, and if we didn't have to do the podcast already, definitely would have taken him up on that. He's like one of those like veteran filmmakers that all his this is a family show, but all his F's are gone. And he's just kind of guy that can, shoot from the hip and just kind of speak his mind. And not in an a-hole way, but in a this is the truth of what I go through. And yeah, he's just really great to talk to. And I'd love to do it again.
Yes, hopefully we'll get Mark Pellington on this. Hopefully Mark Pellington, I keep on telling him, I hope he does his own podcast down the road. Bruce, you agree? You Eric?
Yeah, it could be really good, especially like what we mentioned about bringing on people and how he'd put together people that he's worked with. That could be really, really, really fun.
He's a great conversationalist. And I was trying for the backhanded compliment when we started our interview with Mark Pellington. I said, like, Eric and Bruce are the smarter ones. He didn't rebut it. He says, at least I have the radio voice. So I think he already knows I'm pretty stupid. Yeah.
No, I think he was saying that we don't have good voices. That's what he was saying.
Oh, go on, get out of here. So,
both accurate.
Yeah,
Here we go. Stop. Okay, so that was Mark Pellington. Now, Bruce, how was your weekend over at the Southern Fried Film Festival? You come upon a gem that people should probably check out down the road? I don't know.
Yeah, I did, and hopefully we'll come back to it at some point, and I'll just mention it quickly here. So there was a lot of good movies there. Unfortunately, I would have liked to have seen probably 4 or 5, but with my schedule and everything, I couldn't. But I did get it out there to see The World Is Not My Own, which is a documentary about a artist that started in like 1900 and ended in the 70s. And I'll put her name down really quick here and then we'll move along. Nellie Mae Rowe. I don't know if you remember a while back, we did a documentary on an artist, a folk artist from the South. But this one is quite interesting and quite interesting in the way it's presented, and it's a really, really, really good documentary. So I'll just kind of leave it at that, and hopefully we get to talk about it at some point. Other things that were at this film festival, we mentioned before that they had Linoleum there, they had Joyland there, and they also had some other things I wanted to see, which was a documentary about Little Richard and Black Barbie. I really wanted to see that, but I had to work during Black Barbie. I will say this about Linoleum, and I forgot what kind of rating I gave it. I don't know if I give it a 5-star banger or 4.5 stars, but listeners, I don't know. I'm sure Eric and Bruce are right behind me, or they can even express it better than I can.
Linoleum, starring Jim Gaffigan and a host of others, is close to a classic, I think. And the final moments of Linoleum, Eric, is there a way you can describe the final moments of Linoleum without giving too much away? If you recall, oh, no, Bruce,
Scrumptious. I'll say it's scrumptious.
Just any kind of modifier you can give the final moments of Linoleum, because that one really hit me right where it counts, I think.
Yeah, it is. It's it's literally and figuratively uplifting. How's that?
There you go.
Okay, so Bruce, I believe it is uplifting. I think one of these things, it's a fantastical film, but the final moments of Linoleum smacks of absolute true life. And that's the scary part of how Linoleum works. It is something that as fantastical as the story is, it goes right back to who we are as people, where we are going, and it doesn't compromise. It's a very uncompromising ending. I love Linoleum. And one of these days, maybe Eric Holmes will visit you, Bruce, over at Southern Fried Film Festival, and you guys can hang out over the weekend. I'm not gonna. I don't leave the house, so I mean, Eric, are you down for Alabama? You get for maybe next year to hang out with Bruce?
I mean, I'm not against it.
Okay.
Hey, we have an extra bed over here, and right next to the recording studio.
I'm moving in.
He could be laying there doing the podcast. Hey, what do you say, Eric? Just throw the microphone over at him.
Okay, so for this episode, we have a bunch of movies to cover. I'm just going to very quickly mention the Netflix release Extraction 2. There's a movie called Maggie Moore. Nope, it's not Maggie Moore. It's Maggie Moore's. Who knows what that is? And there's a movie called Blue Jean, which I believe Bruce and I saw. Eric, I told you not to see it. Did you heed my advice and did you not see Blue Jean? Thank you.
I did not see Blue. I started Blue Jean. I was not able to get all the way through it, but I'm probably going to finish that one.
You could probably finish. Okay, fair enough. And I tell you, just to save your time, but you and Bruce end up watching almost everything. And we're going to wrap up with this movie called Bone Cold, which Eric Holmes is a very big supporter of. Now, I think for the first featured review, this is a movie that I really wanted to see. It's called Maggie Moore's, and it stars John Hamm and Tina Fey. It seems like from the trailer, it might be a Coen Brothers-esque movie. Unfortunately, I did not get to see this movie, but Bruce and Eric got to check it out. Bruce, can you lead off with the synopsis of what Maggie Moore's is all about?
Yeah, Maggie Moore's. You're right. I think this has very much influenced by Coen Brothers, and when you kind of describe the setup of it, you'll kind of see that. We will mention it's directed by John Slattery. He's one of those guys that you'll probably know by his face and his silver hair, maybe more than by his name. He co-starred with John Hamm on Mad Men, so I'm guessing there's some reason that they ended up together on this project. But the basic concept of this is you have this super loser dude, and he is running this, well, oh my gosh, there's so many subplots in this. He runs a franchise of like this sandwich shop, and he's doing some shady stuff. The shady stuff's kind of coming back to haunt him a little bit. And let's just say at some point, his wife might be in danger. Her name is Maggie Moore. And at some point, based on what happens to her, another Maggie Moore that lives in town may also be in danger. So ensues this kind of intertangled web of semi-comic, semi-serious misadventures and, nefarious plots. And you've got John Hamm as the local cop, and you've got Tina Fey as the neighbor of the loser dude that sets it all in motion. She's kind of like the neighbor in Bewitched. She's looking out her window all the time, and she sees things, and she's starting to suspect things. And John Hamm meets her, and there's kind of a little romance, but also some mystery she's going to help out with as well. That's the basic setup. It's just kind of all these crazy characters, and all of these interweaving crime plots that kind of all build upon each other and get out of control.
Talented ensemble. It seems like a comedy drama thing. It seems like it could really work. Eric Holmes, before we get to Bruce's review of Maggie Moore's, did this movie work for you? It seems quirky. I'm looking here. Cheating husbands, lonely hearts, nosy neighbors, contract killers. It has all these really great ingredients. Is it a good meal, or would you not eat this meal again?
Well, I think so. This is like a murder mystery where the audience has perfect information. You know what happened, but it's not about who did the murder. Exactly who killed who and why they killed it. It's more about watching the murderers kind of cover their tracks, and then seeing if the detectives trying to find out, see if they can pick up the pieces and figure everything out. This kind of right up my alley. The humor was right up my alley. Bruce mentioned Coen Brothers. It felt a lot similar to like Big Lebowski, where it's just kind of it was kind of really, really lighthearted. It got dark when it needed to get dark, but mostly it's actually Bruce, before I even watch it, because I was asking Bruce kind of what it's like, he's like, oh, you guys might like it. It was similar to Fletch. I'm like, sweet. You can't wait.
Love that. John Hamm was great in Fletch. Like, now, what is it called? Fletch Confesses or something? Fletch. I forgot.
Confess Fletch. Now
thank you.
That said, I love Confess Fletch. I love Fool's Paradise, and those reviews go out, and the consensus is you guys don't know what you're talking about. That movie sucked. That might be the case for this, but I really, really bought into it. Oh, what was that? I think it's called Arizona with
Raising Arizona.
No, not Raising Arizona. I think
Arizona
it's called
Dream.
I think it's just called Arizona.
Yeah, Arizona. Right, Arizona.
Yeah,
movie Arizona.
This had a lot of similar DNA to that one, where it kind of plays like a dark comedy, but there's also like some intrigue going into it. I really enjoyed this one quite a bit. 99
minutes. It was worth it. It was a worthy 99 minutes for you, Eric Holmes.
Yeah. Okay. They didn't pump the brakes at all. Once normally a movie goes on, have that really good starting scene, and then it just kind of takes a nosedive for about a half hour before the story picks up again. At least from my perspective, didn't do that at all. It just kept going, and I was along for the ride the entire time.
Now, Bruce, were you along for the ride, or does the word nosedive, is it apropos to how you're feeling about this movie?
Well, this movie really made me appreciate how hard it is to do what the Coen brothers do, because this movie is not made by the Coen brothers. This movie this movie did not work at all. I think
Did you laugh, Bruce? Did you laugh at all?
No, that's one of the major problems of this movie. This movie, humor-wise, was absolutely a dud for me. It tried really hard, but it did not work for me. I think I wrote woof. Usually that's a good sign I'm not enjoying a movie very much. I wrote woof at about the 30-minute mark.
Were you laughing because you had to see the movie, Bruce?
No. I mean, okay, on the plus side, first of all, obviously the cast is amazing. Sure. There's great people here that I really wanted to like this out of the gate. I'm like, oh, look who's in this. This is awesome. This should be and it did move at a brisk pace. I mean, it kept me going. I watched the whole thing. I wasn't like, looking at my watch and all that kind of stuff, but it wasn't working the way it was supposed to work for me. It was one of those movies, and I think Eric will get this, and this is always with comedy. This is a tough one, right? It's like you just know if it's working for you or if it's not working for you. And perfect example would be, there's a character in here that's kind of this hitman dude, right? And he's supposed to be hard of hearing, so that his cartoons are blaring when the guy comes in, and there's this kind of back and forth between the two. And he's mad, the loser guy's mad because he has to yell because the TV's so loud, and the other guy has the TV so loud because he can't hear very well. And there's this really odd, strange conversation between the two as they're trying to arrange a hit on somebody, or in this case, a scare on somebody. They're trying to, just basically scare somebody. And it was supposed to be funny, and I was just like, oh boy, this is not working, not working for me at all.
Is this movie derivative?
No, only in the sense of like, it's that kind of, that style of story that we talk about Coen Brothers or other things. So I don't think it's derivative as far as that stuff goes. It's okay. Better way to describe this. Wes Anderson totally works on some people. His style of quirk, his style of style. And for other people, it's like nails on a chalkboard. And for me, this kind of had when Wes Anderson is not working for me, this is kind of had the same effect on me that this movie does. It's not the same style, but it's like all of the quirk in this was too try hard for me, and it just didn't work. It wasn't my sensibility.
Hashtag try hard. We're going to close out before we get to the reviews. Final comments from Eric Holmes to bring up Maggie Moore from the abyss where Bruce left it. Any final comments?
That's not that bad.
Okay.
I love the comedy. I love the intrigue and trying to watch everyone put the pieces together that I already know where they go, but it's fun watching them try to put it together. Yeah, I really like this a lot. I'd probably go 4.5.
4.5 stars from Eric Holmes. Okay. What about you, Bruce?
I will go 2 stars, and I will say it should even be lower for mishandling the use of Nick Mohammed so badly in this movie.
Is that the John Hamm's partner?
Yeah, Ted Lasso guy.
Oh, I loved him in this.
He was absolutely underutilized in this movie.
Okay. Okay. Shout out to what is his name again? He's very good in Ted Lasso. That guy. What
Nick
is
Mohammed. If I have it right, I always write the names down
Yeah,
wrong, so
it's
who knows?
Nick Mohammed.
I could be
yeah.
wrong.
Yeah. Hey, don't look at me. I'm the one who did the whole Sophie fiasco at the beginning of the episode.
Sophie Tucker. I think that's an old Torch singer. I might be wrong, but
we gotta Google that. Sorry, Sophie Turner. For my apologies. Okay, that is Maggie Moore's. It's in theaters and on demand June 16th. 4.5 stars from Eric Holmes. 2 stars. I guess a generous 2 stars from Bruce Perky. Now, is Bruce Perky and me? I'm not gonna say my name. I'll say my name. Greg Josevasti. Are we going to like this movie called Blue Jean? Well, there might be a chance because Eric Holmes is not finished with Blue Jean, and he actually said he might actually finish the movie, which, wow, that's a good sign. It could work. I'm trying to think of what the plot line behind Blue Jean is. I think it's set in 1988 London, 1988 England, and it centers on this physical education teacher, high school teacher, a PE teacher, and her name's Jean, played by Rosie McEwen. You might know Rosie McEwen. Some of you might know Rosie McEwen from a year ago. She started in a movie called Vesper, and she was very good in Vesper. And she's here in playing Jean in Billie Jean. She is a lesbian physical education teacher. The thing is, in 1988 England and within Margaret Thatcher's conservative government, the rights for gay people in the workforce not so very good around that year. So what Jean is trying to do is she's trying to stay in the closet and try to stay on straight and narrow in her job and not tell everyone what her private life is. So she doesn't want the students to know. She doesn't want the faculty to know. She just wants to be a school teacher, PE gym teacher, and live her life. The problem is she has a love interest. She is with a loving girlfriend, and they seem to be the perfect match, and they probably are. The only problem is this is 1988 England, and there's a lot of societal pressures. Her girlfriend is out and confidently out, as she should be, but Jean is still trying to play the conservative game and keep her secret a secret. That is the premise of Blue Jean. Again, I think it's a great performance from Rosie McEwen. This is one of these movies written and directed by Georgia Oakley. I was 20 minutes in the movie, I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to be a 97-minute slog. It ended up being something else for me. It ended up being an enriching first-rate drama. I was surprised at how much I really enjoyed and appreciated the storytelling behind Blue Jean. Now let's start off with Bruce. I was going to say Eric Holmes. You're like 10 minutes. What do you think so far? Yeah. Eric, what do you think? Okay, so no, Bruce Perky.
I really liked it.
The first 20 minutes was great.
Well, I didn't even get that far. I got like 5 minutes, but
okay.
Yeah.
What? Okay, so yeah, you're 5 minutes in, and look, return next week. Maybe if you have time, tell us what you think of Blue Jean for the rewind. Bruce Perky,
for sure.
Blue Jean. Yeah, Blue Jean. Was it something? Do you kind of agree that this was a movie that was worth watching?
Myself, yes, I do. I was kind of in the same camp as you, Greg, and I, 15 or 20 minutes, I was kind of like, I'm not so sure. This could just meander for 90 minutes and go nowhere. You have those movies that are character pieces, but they also just kind of sit there and don't do anything. And because
they're like a line. They're just,
and it has the stakes, but it does deal with those things, and it does really draw her character out very, very well. It lets you sink in so you can really understand who she is, which I think is key to this movie, absolutely key to this movie. And I think to me, what really set it apart and what made it kind of work better than what I worried it might be was the way it let her character be kind of highly flawed. Like I could see a version of this movie where she's faced with the challenges that she faces in this movie and makes all the right choices, or all the choices you want her to make as a audience member, where you're kind of looking for the underdog to fight the power and do the right things, right? You know what I mean? Like, this movie set up, it could be that kind of movie, and it goes ways that I think are much more human and much more interesting, and really it challenges us to sometimes like her as much as you think you're supposed to like her, because I don't think you're necessarily supposed to, quote, like her. You're supposed to understand her. I appreciate that about this movie, and I think that makes it a really good character piece as opposed to just kind of a by the books, indie porn, right? It could be that indie porn kind of movie that Eric hates. It might still be that to Eric, yeah. But I think he might appreciate it too. It's kind of funny. It's like the reverse of the movie we just talked about. Like, I could totally see how Eric might really like the movie I just watched, and I didn't, and vice versa. I could see him totally not liking this movie, just the way I do like it. But I appreciate it quite a bit.
I forgot to mention Lois. There's a character named Lois played by
Yes.
Lucy Halliday, and she is the student, a main student of Jean's. And Lois is gay, and she is threatening, I guess, in her own way. I mean, I don't even know how to even. I don't think threatening is the right word, but
No.
she is telling Lois. Lois is telling Jean, "Hey, what's going on?" And she's looking at Jean as a sort of not a parental figure, but sort of as a model to just as far as just to get some kind of insight or support or input. And Jean wants that secret to, again, remain a secret. So there is a push and pull relationship between Jean and Lois that the way it comes out within the narrative without giving too much away, that's what really hooked me in, because Jean's decision making is, while it could be justified under certain circumstances, it is absolutely very frustrating to watch.
Yes.
To see it really grabs you. And like Bruce was saying, this Blue Jean could have been a very feel-good movie that you say, hey, this is very cool. This is an underdog story in 1988, and she overcomes and she stands up to everybody. And then eventually it might have a more populist appeal, but eventually you forget about it because it'll be vanilla, right? But Blue Jean is really smacks more of reality. So yeah, I ended up really, really loving Blue Jean. Final thoughts on Blue Jean, Bruce Berkey.
I think we pretty much covered it. I think it's a really, really solid indie movie, and I think a lot of people could enjoy this, and hopefully they'll discover it. I would give it 4 stars. You look like you're going to say something else there, Greg.
Rosie McEwen, uncanny resemblance to Nicole Kidman in this movie. A little bit. Did you see a little bit of that?
I could see that. Yeah, a young Nicole Kidman. Well, someone else I was trying to think of. Oh,
do you remember her?
Laurie Singer? Maybe a little Laurie Singer.
Okay,
maybe?
Very good. Laurie Singer from the 80s, right? Laurie Singer from the movie Fame and Shortcuts. Yeah, I could see a little bit of that as well. But yeah, do you guys remember her from Vesper? She was the what that very interesting figure that
yes
she's I don't want to even describe that character in Vesper because that would be kind of a little bit of a spoiler. So anyways, Blue Jean, it was in New York last week on June 9th. June 16th it'll be playing in LA, and it'll have a really interesting rollout, and Eric Holmes will probably watch Blue Jean and tell us what he thinks of the film. All right, now this is the Eric Holmes show now, because right now we are going to roll up Eric Holmes. Yes, it's not. You're going to tell me it's not your show. Wait.
So Greg, what was your score on Blue Jean?
Oh my, yeah, Blue Jean. I'm giving it I think I'm going to give it a Sophie Tucker rating of no. I'm going to give it my rating for it. Thank you, Eric Holmes. I'm not doing a very good job this week. 4 stars for Blue Jean because I like to copy Bruce Berkey with his 4 stars, and I rarely give 4 stars as well. So Blue Jean, 4 stars from Bruce, both me and Bruce. Surprising. I think it surprised both of us, which was very, very good. Now, Eric, thank you so much for actually saving me again. You're going to save this segment because this is the Eric Holmes segment. 2 words: bone cold. Go, Eric.
Yes, this one's that I like this one a lot. I did an interview with writer-director Billy Hansen, and it was a strange interview because normally like you get like 5, 10, 15 minutes, whatever. This one, it was just me and him, and we're just going off, and I explain a lot of what I think of the movie within the interview. But for anyone that hasn't heard it yet, it's not exactly the movie you think it is going in. So it starts off basically you got this guy, shows him in war. And then he comes back home. He's got some PTSD. And then him and his partner go out. They do like black ops stuff. And they have a person they're supposed to assassinate or kill or whatever. They do that and they kill him, and they're about to leave and come to find out they got the wrong guy. And now they're trying to process that while trying to stay alive. And then stuff happens later on that I really, really don't want to get into because I was not, it might be in the trailer. I don't know because I still haven't seen the trailer. But it goes places I was not expecting. We'll talk about Survival next week, where it starts off as like kind of Girl Interrupted, and then goes into Alive, and then goes into something like this is one of those movies that you think it's one thing, and then it goes somewhere completely different, which is great, and then it ends somewhere else entirely different that I just absolutely love. This movie's really good, and we talk about filmmakers that certain filmmakers have $100 million budgets, and this one, I believe Billy Hansen pretty much raised the money himself, funded the movie himself, so he's got like very little to work with, and he made a fantastic movie. I love this movie.
We have to mention the actors involved. Like Eric was saying, there's two snipers. One of them is played by Jonathan Stoddard. He's the main one. He plays the sniper, John. John has a family. The aforementioned PTSD that John suffers obviously comes at the expense of whenever he comes home. He has a severe case of PTSD. It obviously affects his relationship with his wife and his daughter. There's also actor Matt Monroe. He plays the other, not the sniper. He's a sniper. He's a spotter, right? He's a spotter. He plays Marco. So a lot of the movie, a big chunk of the movie deals with them out in the snowy wilderness, trying to hit that quote unquote mark. And when they do, and they realize it's not actually the real mark, things go sideways for both of them. Bone Cold, if you look at it, the poster, there is a very mysterious figure that like it says here, Bone Cold, sometimes we make our own demons. So you're wondering, is that figure in Bone Cold a demon, a monster? Is there a monster or supernatural creature within the confines of this narrative? We're not going to, me and Eric will not say if the creature is real or if there is a creature in this movie. Just know that this movie is sort of a theme on PTSD. There's also adventure action sequences. There's also friendship, family drama thing. There's Eric, it's kind of a hybrid movie. Would you agree on this? It's like one movie. Yeah.
And also one of the fun parts about this is watching them work together as a team. That has nothing to do with the PTSD stuff, but the way the action, air quote, action sequences of them setting up the sniper, setting up the job they got to do and executing it. Like they don't rush through that. You're there with them, kind of, doing a stakeout for hours on end and doing like all that stuff. Was just the way it was put together was really fascinating to me. And it's kind of like it doesn't move at a snappy pace. And normally movies like that bug me because it's like nothing's happening. But the way it's presented here, I'm kind of like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing now. Oh, okay, yeah, I see the strategy of what they're setting up and how they're doing things. And it just, yeah, and the suspense on top of that when things go wrong was even better.
Yeah, and the family drama stuff is downright harrowing. There's a third act here that really pushes the envelope in a positive way, in a storytelling fashion. I was really impressed with the family drama at the third act. They're just a very interesting movie. It feels like you said possibly Billy Hansen financed it, or maybe it's financed the whole thing himself. It feels like a movie that was actually directed by someone who had final cut. Like he had his own control of the movie, and it just feels like it's his own language, which I really appreciated regarding Bone Cold. Final thoughts on Bone. By the way, Bone Cold, we have a giveaway on one of our sites. I think it's on our Find Your Film or Deepest Dream site. I'm going to put the link on our show notes. We're doing a lot of giveaways. By the way, Bruce, have you ever heard of this movie called Chevailer? Chevailer with Cal. Have you? It's like I'm going to get to Chevailer in a second, but Bone Cold, it's a movie that I really enjoyed. It's on digital, Blu-ray, and DVD this week via Wellgo USA Entertainment. Eric Holmes, final thoughts on Bone Cold and your rating.
Yeah, this one's really rough around the edges. Very low budget, but I think with what they had to work with, they made a banger. Probably do 4.5 on this, but maybe once I watch it a fourth time, I've seen it 3 times already. It might go up to about 5.
Wow. Okay, so that might go out to 5 stars from Americonned, but he is giving it 4.5 stars.
This reminds me of the first time I watched Undisputed 2. Sorry, I'm going way too long on this. This reminds me of the first time I saw Undisputed 2. It was direct to video. I had not much high hopes on it, and then it just blew me away. And then that's where I discovered Scott Adkins, and I loved it. This kind of gave me that same kind of chill.
Okay, I hope you don't give us any more chills, Eric Holmes, because this is another Eric Holmes segment part 2. You're gonna actually do a little machine gun round of the features that are also coming out this week. I believe there's a movie. Bruce, you're gonna go get into this. Americonned, what is that about? Americonned? What do you guys? You want to say something about Americonned?
Eric is just sitting there. I think he's purposely just sitting there.
I thought Bruce was getting into this first.
Okay. Well, Americonned's a documentary about what's economic inequality in the U.S. or social economic inequality. Yeah, you know what? Per Eric's command, Bruce Berkey. Americonned. Was it a documentary that you cotton too, I guess. I might never use
Yes.
cotton in our podcast, but go ahead.
This is one of those movies that when you watch these documentaries, there's a couple things, right? It's about the inequality in the economic system in America. But I think even more importantly, it really gives you a history lesson on how we got to this point. And I think that also another problem with these kind of movies is that you can a lot of times feel like, oh, it's going to be the Democrats are great and Republicans are terrible, or vice versa, depending on the point of view it's taking. And I think this movie has a lot of blame to throw all directions for how it's happening, but it also is unapologetic in saying that this system is messed up and how it is messed up. And it shows you in no uncertain terms the ways that it's messed up. And I think this is going to be a movie that's a certain percentage of people are going to probably watch and feel like they're already behind it and will be even more frustrated and get even more information than they already had. I feel like I kind of fall in that camp. And I think there's another group of the population that won't watch it because they'll think it's just propaganda from the other side. And that's a shame because I feel like that side of the crowd is also getting it, if not as much, maybe even more so, screwed over by this system. And they're being used by the system as kind of the foot soldiers, and they're the ones being screwed by the very system that's using them. I don't know how much Eric agrees with that, but he might. I'm sure he's going to chime in too. No matter how you look at it, this is a harrowing movie, and I think everybody here can identify to some degree with what it talks about, and it shows you a ton of great examples of people. People in Florida. There are these people in these apartment complexes that are just all getting evicted during COVID, and the ways that system is set up to make them fail. And I just think about myself personally. I live in Alabama right now. Part of the reason I live in Alabama right now is that my wife got MS. She can't work anymore. We have one income. I can't live in a big city in the West Coast for my one income. Not the way that we used to, not where we used to. So we moved to a place where we can live. And even here it's tough. And that's just like a small example. And we have it pretty good compared to a lot of people. So this is kind of essential viewing, I think, for anyone who wants to understand what's happening and why it's happening. I think it's a pretty excellent documentary.
Bruce, I just don't like that propaganda speak you just did right now.
That's okay. I'm going to cut
your. I like #foot soldier. Are you a foot soldier, Eric Holmes, like me, or what do you think of Americonned?
No,
do you agree?
No.
Oh, no. Okay.
I don't walk. Come on. I just lay on my back and roll around.
Yeah, we got the bed right here, man. Right here. I'm telling you. Roll around. The dog will be with you.
This documentary is really good. And unfortunately it's the one that no one's going to learn a lesson from because, but at the same time, the people in the documentary, they're not waiting for someone to come save them. They're making their own future. They're kind of, fighting against the system to turn things around on their own terms, as tough as that might be, especially with a lot of the societies, like the haves need it, then we should give it to them. As soon as the have-nots need literally anything, it's, oh, well, you need to pull yourself up by the bootstraps. It's like, oh yeah, the billionaires can't pull themselves up by the bootstraps. We need to hold their hand. But they're
too big to fail. You know that, right?
Oh yeah, that's the biggest con lie that we were ever fed, with a shovel, I might add. But this documentary is really kind of, it really gets under my skin and really aggravating to watch. Not because it's bad, but just because it's the truth. We just watch ourselves just constantly doing the wrong things. But thankfully, there's other people in the world that will fight for themselves and make things better for the rest of us. It's not going to be the people that could do it the easiest, unfortunately, but that's kind of what this documentary is about.
Okay, so that is Americonned. And yeah, what is your rating on this documentary? By the way, Americonned right now is, I believe, available. Is it available on DVD or no? It's not available on DVDs or on. I think it's actually screening in various cities right now as we speak. So it's rolling out. Bruce, your ratings on Americonned?
I'm going to go 4.5. The only thing that keeps it from being 5 is I wish they could have got a few more people that were overtly conservative, the conservative people who have been destroyed by the system too, to really be a huge presence on the ground in this movie. I would have liked to have seen that because it is the truth. But other than that, it's nearly 5-star, 4.5.
Wow, very good rating for you, Bruce Perky. And also, I will be putting the website link on our show notes. So if you need any more information on how to actually watch this movie, Americonned, strong recommendation from Bruce Perky. Eric Holmes, your thoughts, your ratings.
I'm right there with Bruce. The conservative angle would have been nice to have, but even without it, I think it's pretty truthful, or as truthful as you can be with something like this.
Yep.
Okay. Very cool then. And that is Americonned. Before we get to Bruce Perky's What's in the Bleeping Box? What's in the box? We got something elemental. What you got, Eric Holmes?
Yes. So this is another one. I did another interview with director Trip Jennings. Thankfully, at the time of the interview, I wasn't kind of messed up on my end, but Trip Jennings was a joy to have on there, and he has absolutely carried the interview, and he made a pretty fantastic documentary as well. It's basically about wildfires, and it mixes in why wildfires kind of happen, a mixture of, climate change, humans doing certain things. They talk about people doing controlled burns and how that works. They talk about we had the Waldo Canyon fire here in Colorado. Actually, we had a Black Forest fire as well. There was a couple fires in your neck of the woods, Greg. And there's some footage of people trying to escape those fires. And they're talking about how the tires on the cars are melting. That's how hot it is. You see the fires. When we had the fire here in Waldo Canyon and Black Forest, there was definitely a bunch of haze, but I wasn't caught in the middle of the fire. And you actually get footage of people caught in the middle of it, and how they're surrounded. They don't know which way out is. It looks like it's nighttime when it's in the middle of the day. It's very, very scary to watch. But then they go do other interviews with firefighters and people trying to, because they look at the aftermath. Here's a bunch of burned houses. Here's one house that's untouched. Why is that? And then so you get a bunch of the science on how to fight wildfires or prevent collateral damage when they do come about. Trip Jennings went in hard with this. Just anything you could want to know about wildfires, whether how they start, how they spread, technology that's used to combat it. This was very thorough, very great documentary, and I hope everyone watches it.
Okay, so Elemental Reimagine Wildfire is currently available on TVOD, digital, and TVD. We'll have a link to that as well on our show notes over at CinemAddicts. Eric, what? I'm looking at the Google Notes. You lied. Are you giving it 0 stars?
What? No.
I'm sorry. I have glaucoma. So what is it? What did it say? Right. Well, how many stars do you give this?
No, this one's 5 stars. Absolutely. The Trip Jennings left no stone unturned. I don't know how you make for doing a documentary about wildfires and the documentary he wanted to make. I don't know how you do a better one than this. I don't know. There's nothing else to say. He put everything on the table and made a great documentary as a result. Okay.
That is 5 stars from Eric Holmes for Elemental Reimagine Wildfire. And again, the interview with what's his name, Trip, will be available on our Find Your Film podcast feed. Bruce Perky, why did you not see this? Because you're supposed to. I have on the Google Notes that you have 5 or 6 recommendations. You see about 20 movies a week. Did you decide to skip one of them? You're not a wildfire fan?
I honestly wanted to try to get this one in too.
Well, one thing you were able to get to. Oh, wait, Pete, drop those digital codes. When I mean digital codes, I have 3 digital codes available for this movie called Chevailer. And Chevailer, it stars Kelvin Harrison Jr. as the illegitimate son of an African slave and a French plantation owner. So that is Chevailer, and he becomes a celebrated violinist, composer, and fencer, complete with an ill-fated love affair and a falling out with Marie Antoinette, played by Lucy Boynton and her court. Thank you to Searchlight Pictures for giving us 3 digital codes of Chevailer. It's available to our listeners over at CinemAddicts and Find Your Film. I'll put the giveaway up soon on one of our websites. And Bruce, Eric, I have an idea. Why don't I put up the Chevailer digital codes up there? There's 3 available for our wonderful listeners and supporters, but we'll just take them ourselves. You know what I'm saying? What do you think? Do you think, Bruce, Eric, what do you think? Why don't we just steal these digital codes? Is there anything cool with that? Or, is that Americonned? I'm going to pull an Americonned on people. What do you think? Bruce, Eric, should we do that or no? What?
Yes.
No, we should not do that.
No, we should not do that. The digital codes are not for me, Bruce and Eric. And no, we're not going to do Americonned. By the way, I can't wait to see that documentary. Can't wait to also see Chevailer. So check out on our show notes where you can actually get into our Chevailer digital code giveaway. Pete, I know you didn't drop those digital codes. Pete, please, what does he do every single week? Bruce Berkey?
Rock that beat.
Friday, Clear Hearts. Yes, Pure Hearts, Stone
And
Hearts. What is that? Yes,
every week Pete rocks the beat, but this week he birthdays that beat.
Remove your hand from the box, and you die.
What's in the box?
Pain.
Oh, it's his birthday. Happy 60th birthday, Peter Beta. You were only
69, but whatever.
60,
He was counting.
Whatever. Yeah, so again, Peter Beta from the Middle Class Film Class. He's a great supporter of our show, and Bruce and Eric definitely support him and his endeavors at Middle Class Film Class, and love them. I love those guys as well. So, Bruce, Clear Hearts, Pure Minds, Stone Hearts, liquidity. What is that? What are they saying in Friday Night Lights? Did it make you tear up? Are you crying?
Oh, so many tears. Friday Night Lights, 2004. Peter Berg directed. Yeah, I've never seen this movie. This is one of those movies that's been around forever. I've heard about it. I remember they made it into a TV series for a few years at least.
Very successful, yeah.
This is definitely one of the more popular football movies in the last 25 years. There's been a few big ones. This is definitely right up there in a lot of people's minds. Billy Bob Thornton. You know how it's weird? I had heard of this movie forever. I did not know Billy Bob Thornton was in it until I watched it. And it started, and I was like, oh, he's in this movie. Okay, cool. He's in a lot of movies where he's coaches, I think. It also has a few other people you might know. Lucas Black, Garrett Hedlund, a bunch of people. Basic concept. It's a Texas town that lives and breathes high school football. And I can relate to that. I'm in Alabama town. And when, Friday nights, a lot of people in town go to the football game. Not as much as in this town in this movie, where they basically put signs on all the doors saying, at the game, or, gone at the game, that kind of stuff. And at the very beginning of it, it's the beginning of their season. And I wrote down the year, 1988. This is supposed to be taking place. This is a period piece. They are expected to win the championship from the beginning of the season. That's the expectation. They have this one star player, Boobie Miles, played by, and I may have it wrong, I always get these names wrong, Derek Luke, that's what I wrote down. Hopefully I'm right.
Yes.
He is expected to go on to college and just be a superstar. He's expected to, maybe get the Heisman. Who knows? He's cocky. He knows he can do everything. He can catch, he can run. He's the whole team. And they're expected to win, they're expected to go, and then that's the whole thing. They're going to win everything. And that's the story in the movie. They win all the games and they win the championship. The game's over. That's it. That's all that happens. There's nothing, No, I mean, obviously something's going to happen that's going to mess things up, and that will create drama for the season. And the basic movie is following basically 4 or 5 of the kind of key players in this team, and kind of how the year plays out for them. You got Boobie Miles, and what happens to him. I'm not going to give away anything to anyone who hasn't seen it. Do his dreams make it or not? We have one guy on there and I don't know if I wrote down. Yeah, Billingsley. He's the kid whose dad was the won in the championship, and now his dad is riding him hard to be the star now, and he's kind of like the loser kid in his dad's eyes, and he can't never measure up, and his dad's a drunk and all that kind of stuff. And then you've got a few other players, and they all have their stories. Overall, I liked this movie enough, but boy, oh boy, is it got a lot of cheese and a lot of corn. I think the thing that I didn't like about this movie is the presentation. For me, this feels pretty dated. It feels very, I want to say 90s, but it's not 90s, it's early thousands. But it has like tons of needle drops, and like, I'm gonna be your dog by the Stooges pops in there, and all these like heavy driving songs for another football montage. And all the main characters are not characters. They're just types. Like you could describe each character by exactly what his characteristic is. Like I just said, the kid who can't live up to his father's standards, the kid who's the cocky superstar, the kid who's the backup to Boobie, who never expects to make it. So as far as that goes, it's kind of one-dimensional, but it's kind of one-dimensional that pretty much works. It's entertaining. But the thing that I thought was the most disappointing to me about this movie is it was so dour. This movie is not what I thought it was going to be. I thought this movie would be like the underdog team, which are not an underdog team. They start out as the favorites. The underdog team that, somehow almost makes it or makes it. One of those two stories, right? And you follow them to the end. And I love that. That can be really entertaining and fun. But this movie is kind of just, it's like life kind of sucks. If you're at high school and you're in football, it kind of sucks. And a lot of pressure's put on you and it kind of sucks. And I didn't like that so much. Overall, I would give it a barely recommend of 3 stars. I know people love it, but for me, it was, so-so.
Okay, so that's Friday Night Lights. I remember loving it, but I haven't seen it actually, Bruce, to be fair, since that year.
Yeah.
And I remember loving that movie a lot. Eric, are you a big fan of Friday Night Lights, the movie?
Yeah, and actually the stuff I love about it was kind of the stuff that Bruce didn't like about it. Go figure. We're at odds with the movie.
Yeah.
But
so let me guess.
Go ahead.
Eric, does that mean you love football with a passion and you love comedy and Bruce doesn't? Is that what I heard from this?
I don't think that's quite the takeaway.
Okay,
but,
my bad.
You're just mad because the Nuggets won. I know what's wrong with you, Greg.
No comment on that.
I think what carried a lot of this movie for me was not the soundtrack, but the score. The Explosions in the Sky, I think, is the band that does the score. That really worked for me. The dark tone of it worked for me. It was kind of like I didn't hate Varsity Blues, but I didn't love Varsity Blues. This seems like I remember when it came out, all my friends were talking about how great Varsity Blues was, and it's fine. But this is the movie that I thought they were describing. So when I finally saw Friday Night Lights, I'm like, oh, someone finally did it. They finally made the good version of Varsity Blues, which is kind of where I'm at on this one.
Okay, what is your rating, Eric Holmes, on Friday Night Lights? I give this
a 5. I've seen. I didn't watch it this week, but I mean, I've seen it plenty. This one's all timer for me.
Okay. Oh, wow. All timer. My goodness.
Well, I think more people are in Eric's camp too.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that is the consensus. People love this movie. I was just like, it wasn't what I wanted, I guess, it to be.
That's fair.
And it's probably Peter Berg's best movie, I think. Like
right.
Very bad things.
Hancock?
Good, but
What,
no.
Hancock. Is Hancock's anyone favorite movie by Peter Berg?
Right. What is it? 22 Mile? What is the other one that he did with Mark Wahlberg? Anyways, yeah, Peter Berg's
Oh, yeah, the one where the guy's behind enemy lines, whatever that one's. What is that one called?
God, yeah,
Lone Survivor?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Lone Survivor. Right. Lone
That's
Survivor.
a pretty good movie.
Now, speaking of pretty good movies, Bruce, hopefully for the next What's in the Box pick, you'll have a good movie for you to watch next week. What's in the bleeping box, Bruce? What's in the box? Hopefully a Mark Pellington movie. We'll see.
Yeah.
We should start putting Mark Pellington movies, right?
We didn't mention that. He gave us, listen to the interview when it comes out, because he gave us some great suggestions for the box.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
This was suggested by, first of all, Beyond Human Range director. Do you remember Beyond Human Range? I don't even remember that movie.
I don't remember Beyond Human Range.
I don't either. Do you?
My goodness. Maybe we just
oh my
made that
God.
up.
We have something in here.
We're just all senile. We're all senile.
Mr. Death.
Oh, Mr. Death. That's directed by the guy who did Thin Blue Line, right? Is that an Errol Morris movie? I don't know. Mr. Death.
It might be. I don't think I've seen this one. Is this about the guy who does like the
Kevorkian, maybe?
No, I don't think it's.
No? Okay.
Maybe it is.
I could be wrong. I was wrong with Sophie at the beginning, like an idiot. So I don't trust myself anymore.
Sophie
Beyond Human Range. I have no idea what that is. We've got to look that up. At least I can't believe we don't even. Yeah.
Beyond Human Nature. I've seen.
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
You know me, I always write stuff down wrong. So who got?
Do you guys remember a movie we did called Dakra several years back? Do you remember Dakra?
Yes, Dakra was like I want to say, hang on, Tunisian horror movie.
Yeah,
and I remember it had a really good dinner scene.
Yeah, right. And over the years, there's been people who've commented on our Deepest Dream YouTube channel saying, "Oh, by the way, that's how the way the people are yelling at each other. That's how we argue in the whole thing." Remember, we were complaining about do they really argue like that? And people say, "Yeah, they do argue like that." Anyways, we are finally done. We finished the Mark Pellington thing. Where CinemAddicts episode 194 is pretty much over. Eric Holmes, you got a couple things to say before we get out of here?
Yes, I gave Bone Cold a 4.5 stars, and it's great. Greg, what do you give it?
I'm giving it 4 stars. 4 stars.
Right,
I love it. Did I not give Bone Cold a rating?
No, you didn't. But I didn't want to pump the brakes again because I already did that with Blue Gene.
Oh no, always do that. I keep yes,
All right.
4 stars for Bone Cold for me. My God, my bad on that. I should interstitch that comment on our Bone Cold review, which I'll put up on the YouTube channel. Yes, Eric.
I do know what I want to bring up.
Yes.
You can go to findyourfilmpodcast.com and there's a new t-shirt design up there inspired by Miami Vice, and the name CinemAddicts is what it says on there.
Very
It's
good,
a family
Eric.
show.
It's a family show. Eric Holmes doing the quote unquote, I would say the Lord's work, but doing the hard work for us over at CinemAddicts, and find your film with some really interesting merch, Miami Vice inspired, I guess. So CinemAddicts or CinemAddicts, it's a family show. We mean private investigators. We have a private investigator thing. Again, findyourfilmpodcast.com, and that's where you can find us. But you can find Bruce right now because he's going to give the final quote of the day.
Quote? Well, it's not a quote. It's just a thought. I was watching Greg, one of your video reviews just this week, and all I could think to myself was, God damn, that man has nice hair. And that's what I was thinking when I was watching it. 5-star banger to Greg's hair.
No comment. We'll see you next week here at CinemAddicts. Take care. Thank you, Bruce.